for another. Good evening, sir.
So good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
So request everybody to enable your video so that we can start off the classes. Okay. So in the previous class, we had discussed, once we started discussing about the human nutrition in animals. We have understood about the human nutrition, how it is going to be present in the human body. And we also understood that the digestive system is considered to be as holozoic in nature. At the same time, we understood that it is going to have presence of the mouth connected to the buccal cavity, and the buccal cavity is going to have presence of the main presence of the jaws, and jaws will be having presence of teeth, and also it is going to have presence of tongue. That is what we have understood in the previous class. And also we understood about the human dentition formula, dental formula also we have understood. So proceeding ahead to today, let's go ahead to try to understand about the entire digestive system. So we are understanding about nutrition in animals. So in this, let's proceed ahead. Okay, we have to draw a diagram now. Kindly note down the diagram along with me. Okay. Hope everybody can see the diagram, right? Okay. Hope everybody, the board is clear.
Yes,
so that
sir.
you can write the diagram easily, right?
Yes, sir.
So once everybody writes the diagram, kindly give a thumbs up signal so that I can start explaining. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So is it done? Hello? Hello, hello, hello.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Is it done? If you're
Yes,
done,
sir.
kindly give a thumbs up signal so that I can start explaining. Okay. So now let's observe here how things work with respect to a digestive system. So as we have already understood, digestive system is comparatively a complicated one. So in human body, the digestive system consists of alimentary canal. Last class we have understood this. So now the alimentary canal, last class we had told that it is having presence of a buccal cavity, mouth with a buccal cavity. Buccal cavity will be having presence of salivary glands. There are 3 salivary glands. We'll understand that in the next part. So then the salivary means this buccal cavity moves down to form as a long tube-like structure, which I call them as esophagus. So esophagus is very, very important because it is going to help in pushing the food molecules. So the food molecules will be, means the last class we understood that the tongue as well as the teeth is going to help in cutting the food, grinding the food. Along with that, it helps in softening the food, and the food along with the tongue is going to be converted into a ball-like mass, which is called as bolus. So the bolus starts moving into this esophagus, and that esophagus is highly elastic in nature, which is going to show peristaltic movement. All the time, the entire esophagus, whenever we are going to consume the food, it is going to show contraction, relaxation, and helps in pushing the food from the top to the bottom. The bottom of the esophagus is actually connected to a structure which is called as a stomach. Stomach is always present on the left part of our body. In the abdominal cavity, we are able to see the presence of the stomach. So this stomach is usually C-shaped structure, or some textbooks refer it as J-shaped structure. Whatever it is right. C-shape or J-shape, both are right. So that particular stomach will be having presence of gastric gland. So stomach will be having gastric gland. So this gastric gland will be having the capacity of secreting mainly an important enzyme along with an acid. So there are a variety of enzymes going to be secreted by the gastric gland that will come to that later part. So then along with this, it is also going to secrete HCl, hydrochloric acid. So those are called as gastric juice. So the stomach is going to have gastric gland, and gastric gland is going to secrete gastric juice, which is going to have hydrochloric acid in it, which makes the acid, which makes the entire juice acidic in nature because of hydrochloric acid present in it. Okay, then the food, once it comes into the stomach, some part of the food gets digested. Not the complete digestion of the food takes place in the stomach. Some percentage of food gets digested in the stomach. Usually what happens, as you are going to chew the food along with the help of the teeth, and the enzyme saliva is going to be secreted, at that particular point of time itself, the food starts getting digested. But again, not complete digestion of food takes place there. So some percentage, small percentage of food gets digested. So after that, it converts into bolus. From the bolus, which that bolus starts moving into the esophagus, and from the esophagus, it moves into the stomach. So in the stomach, with the help of gastric gland, which is going to secrete the gastric juice, so that food molecule, some component of it is going to be digested there in the stomach. Now from the stomach, the food starts moving through one tube. This tube, this long tube, is nothing but connection to the small intestine. So that is what I call it as a duodenum. So very first we are able to see duodenum. So the food comes into the small intestine, and the first part is called as duodenum, and the duodenum is connected to the jejunum, and jejunum is connected to the ileum. So last class we had discussed about this: duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So in the entire alimentary canal, this particular small intestine consisting of duodenum, jejunum, and ileum marks about approximately 6 meters in length. So it measures about 6 meters in length. So the food, when it comes into this duodenum and then to the jejunum, so here in the small intestine, we are able to see presence of something called as intestinal glands. So there is presence of intestinal gland. So this intestinal gland is responsible for the secretion of various enzymes, responsible for the activity of the digestion of the complete food. Some percentage of the food gets digested in the stomach. From there, the food is coming into the duodenum, jejunum, ileum, where the complete digestion of the food takes place with the help of gastric gland, which is going to secrete intestinal gland secreting the intestinal juices. So those intestinal juice, we call it as succus entericus. We'll come to that part later in the next part. Okay, and then you are able to see here ileum. Ileum is connected to the large intestine. So large intestine is approximately around 1.8. Okay, so large intestine is approximately around 1.8 meters long. It is around 1.8 meters long, and that is classified into first part called as cecum. And if you observe here, cecum is connected with one structure, projectile structure, which we call it as appendix or vermiform appendix. So this vermiform appendix, as such, now in human body does not have any role or function to play. So in the process of evolution in human body, the entire appendix has become non-functional. So probably some millions of years ago, this appendix might be having some importance. Means some theoretical as well as what do you call it as the evolutionary study says that appendix has a capacity of secreting various enzymes called cellulase, which was responsible for the digestion of cellulose, which is present in grass, leaves of all the plants. So here, now as that appendix is not having any role to play, we don't have any function of such of the appendix. Then next, the cecum is connected to the colon, and colon is connected to the rectum, and ultimately rectum is connected to the anus. So these are the parts of the alimentary canal. Now, is this part clear to everyone? Anybody has any doubt in this?
No, sir.
Okay, no doubts. So shall I proceed ahead? Okay. So the next important thing is this entire dimension, the alimentary canal, is going to be connected with a variety of glands, which I call it them as digestive glands. So there are presence of digestive glands here. So the digestive glands are considered to be as very first we have salivary glands. So salivary glands are going to be present in the buccal cavity. So salivary glands are present in the buccal cavity. And which are those salivary glands? So salivary glands are going to be considered as very first parotid gland. We have parotid gland, which is present in the cheek. Andra, really, this region we are able to see, this is the cheek region. So that is where we are able to see this parotid gland. Okay, it is present in the cheek region. Along with that, we have the next important gland, which is called as submaxillary gland. So it is called as submaxillary gland. So this submaxillary gland, where exactly is the presence of the submaxillary gland? They are present at the lower jaw. At the lower jaw region, we are able to see submaxillary gland. So it is present in the lower jaw. Then third one, we have one more salivary gland, and that is present in, means that is considered to be as sublingual gland. It is considered to be as sublingual gland, and the sublingual gland is present below the tongue. It is present below the tongue. So these are the three major glands present in the salivary gland. So three types of glands are parotid, submaxillary, sublingual. Submaxillary can be also called as submandibular. That is not required as such. Okay, fine. Now, what is the function of the salivary glands? Salivary glands are going to secrete mainly saliva. It is going to secrete saliva. So what is saliva? Saliva is basically a secretion, and that secretion is going to have one important enzyme in it, and that enzyme is considered to be as salivary amylase. It is considered to be as salivary amylase. Okay, salivary amylase in some textbooks also give it as tyalin, one and the same. Okay, so what is the function of the salivary amylase? Salivary amylase is going to help in breakdown of carbohydrate into simpler food at the buccal cavity itself. But please remember, the food is going to be present in the buccal cavity for only few minutes. Okay, so when the moment you take the food into your buccal cavity, you are going to first soften the food with the help of the saliva. Saliva mixes with the food, makes the food as a soft substance, and after that you are going to start chewing it. So when you're chewing it, the saliva mixes with the food. There itself, it will start showing the activity of digesting the food into simpler food molecule. For that reason, you require this salivary amylase. Hope this part is clear to everybody, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then after this, the next important gland what we have is considered to be a second, pancreas. Now we have pancreas here. Just below the stomach, we are able to see the presence of the pancreas. So what is this pancreas? This particular pancreas is considered to be as a yellow colored gland. And it is something like a carrot-shaped structure. It is something like a carrot-shaped structure present in between the stomach as well as the duodenum. In between the stomach and duodenum, we are able to see the presence of the pancreas. So this pancreas secretes an enzyme which is called as pancreatic enzyme. So it is going to secrete pancreatic juice or pancreatic enzyme. So this pancreatic juice or pancreatic enzyme has so many different types of enzymes in it, which is considered to be as pancreatic lipase, pancreatic trypsin, pancreatic amylase. We'll come to that part later. So that is all responsible for the digestion of the food into simpler food molecule. So for that you require pancreas with pancreatic juice. And one of the speciality about this pancreas is it is considered to be as a heterocrine gland. Heterocrine gland meaning is it is having dual role or dual function. What is this dual role or dual function? One part of the pancreas acts as exocrine gland and another part acts as endocrine. So pancreas acts as exocrine gland and also it is going to act as endocrine gland. So what is the difference between these two? Exocrine glands are the one which secretes enzymes in the human body. And all those enzymes will be passed through one pipe which we call it as duct. Now observe here, there is pancreas, there is one tube. Through this tube, the pancreatic juice enters into the duodenum. Okay, so that's why it is called exocrine. So all the glands in the human body which are going to secrete enzymes, they're all considered to be as exocrine in nature. So salivary gland is exocrine. It is going to have salivary duct. You can see here, these are the salivary ducts. So through which the saliva is secreted to the target organ. Target organ here is buccal cavity. So here, target organ is the duodenum. Like that, wherever we are in requirement of the target, so there the exocrine gland secretes its enzymes directly there. So that is the exocrine gland. What is now endocrine gland? See, human body also has the endocrine gland, and those endocrine glands are going to secrete hormones. So every endocrine gland secretes a hormone. What is the importance of the hormone? Hormones are the one which is going to be responsible for maintaining some balance in the body. So we'll be understanding this in control coordination chapter. So our body has the exocrine system also, endocrine system also. The exocrine system secretes, the exocrine system has exocrine glands which secretes enzymes. Endocrine system has the endocrine glands which secretes hormones. So pancreas will be showing both the character, exocrine character also, endocrine character also. So whenever it is showing endocrine character, it is secreting a very important hormone which is called as insulin. Because nowadays there is a problem which is very much prevalently seen in every family called diabetes mellitus or sugar problem. So the sugar problem or insulin is a very important hormone which is responsible for maintaining the sugar balance. So that is going to be secreted by the pancreas, which is going to act as the endocrine gland in your body. So now let's not worry about that. We'll worry about that part in the next chapter, control coordination. So our interest here is pancreas which is going to act as exocrine gland, and that exocrine gland secretes pancreatic juice, and the pancreatic juice are mainly pancreatic amylase, pancreatic lipase, pancreatic trypsin. Three important enzyme secretion will be done by this pancreas. So hope this part is clear. Everybody, right? Okay. Now what happens? The next thing is considered to be as the liver. Now this is our liver. Liver is considered to be as the, what do you call it as? Liver is the main part of the human body, which is the chemical factory of the human body. Now this particular liver is considered to be as brownish in color. It is brownish in color, and it is the largest gland, exocrine gland present in the human body. It has multiple functions to play. Now here, this particular liver, which is going to have some secretions called as bile secretions. So those bile secretions are going to be seen with respect to one bladder, which is called as gallbladder. Now here in this liver, there will be one bladder. So here there will be one bladder, which is called as gallbladder. So gallbladder is present, and that gallbladder is going to secrete some important enzyme, which is called as bile secretion. It is going to secrete bile juice. Okay. Now this bile juice is going to have mainly bile salts in it and also bile pigments in it. So there are bile salts and bile pigments in this bile juice. Okay. Is that clear to everybody? That is the importance of the liver in the human body. Along with that, I was talking that stomach. Now this entire stomach will be lined by one gland, which is called as gastric gland. Stomach has gastric gland on there. So this entire stomach will be lined by gastric gland, and that gastric gland, so that is the next important gland. We have gastric gland. So gastric gland is going to secrete gastric juice, and the gastric juice contains mainly hydrochloric acid. I already told you about that. And the last means, along with that hydrochloric acid, it is also going to have gastric lipase, gastric amylase. Those types of enzymes will be present. And then lastly, we have the next gland, which is considered to be as intestinal gland. The last gland is considered to be as the intestinal gland. So this intestinal gland will be present lining the part of this small intestine. Small intestine will be lined by intestinal gland. So that intestinal gland is going to secrete variety of juice, which we call it as intestinal juice. So that intestinal juice will be having a specific name. I was talking to you about that, which is called as first succus entericus. Okay, which is called as succus entericus is the enzyme secreted by gastric gland. So all these glands play a vital role in the digestion of the food. So whenever the food comes into this part of the stomach, there we are able to see the part of the gastric gland secreting its enzyme, buccal cavity having salivary gland secretion, and as well as when it comes into the duodenum, it will be able to see secretion from the pancreas as well as the liver. When it goes into the intestine, there is intestinal gland. So everywhere, wherever the food enters, we are able to see the presence of the glands which are secreting enzymes which are responsible for the digestion of the food. Is that part clear to everybody? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So can you just make a note of few things, whatever I discussed right now? Write down as Alimentary canal, under that write down first as no, that is already given to you. Last class itself we have discussed it. So make note as digestive. Take down the heading as digestive glands. Digestive glands. Under that write down digestive gland. Digestive is associated with digestive gland are associated with digestion or associated with digestion.
So starting, sir. Once again, sir.
Okay, take down. Digestive gland is associated with digestion by secreting various digestive juices. By secreting various digestive juices. Next, right guys. The first digestive gland is salivary glands. The first digestive gland is salivary glands. Salivary glands are present as first one, parotid glands at cheek are present as parotid glands at cheek. Next, submaxillary gland at lower jaw. Submaxillary gland at lower jaw. Next, sublingual gland below the tongue. Sublingual gland below the tongue. Sublingual gland below the tongue. Okay, is that fine? Next, these three glands secrete saliva. These three glands secrete saliva, which helps in lubrication of food. Which helps in lubrication of food. Which helps in lubrication of food. Next point. Saliva contains an enzyme called salivary amylase. Salivary amylase. Called salivary amylase. Which helps in breaking down of starch into simpler food molecule. Starch into simpler food molecule. starch into simpler food molecule in the buccal cavity. In the buccal cavity. Next, pancreas. Next, pancreas. Pancreas is yellow-shaped gland. Present in between stomach and duodenum. Present in between stomach and duodenum, which is responsible for secretion of pancreatic juice, containing pancreatic amylase. Okay, as well as pancreatic trypsin, TRYPSIN, pancreatic trypsin, and pancreatic lipase, Okay, is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Next, liver. Liver is the largest gland of the human body. And it is dark brown in color. It is termed as chemical factory. Okay. Bile contains, liver contains gallbladder. And bile juice is secreted and stored in gallbladder. Which contains sodium bicarbonate salt. And this bile juice is responsible for emulsification of fat. Okay, next. Gastric gland. gastric gland. Gastric gland is lining the part of the stomach, is lining the part of the stomach, is lining the part of stomach, and they secrete gastric juice. They secrete gastric juice containing hydrochloric acid. Containing hydrochloric acid. Containing hydrochloric acid. Okay. Next, last one. Intestinal gland. Intestinal gland. Intestinal gland is lining the part of intestine, small intestine. Intestinal gland is lining the part of small intestine, and it secretes intestinal juice. Secretes intestinal juice called succus entericus. Succus entericus. Okay. So with this, we have understood the entire alimentary canal, digestive glands that we have understood. Now we have to understand the next part is how digestion takes place in the buccal cavity, how digestion takes place in the stomach, how digestion takes place in the small intestine. That we will be understanding it in the next class. Is that clear to everybody? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So next class, we'll go ahead with digestion, which is going to take place in mouth and the other parts of the alimentary canal. So please come prepared for the next class. We'll continue it in the next class. Okay. See you all. Bye. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.